let's head to the arena. Check in with our guy, third member of our show, of course, coming fresh off, as he say, fresh off the Joel Embiid press conference. And that's the big story. Kyle Neubeck live from the center. And Kyle, I mean, what did Joel Embiid have to say after making his 29 game, his return after 29 game absence, playing 29 plus minutes there and getting a win? What did he have to say in his press conference?
So he was actually very candid about how much of a mental struggle this specific injury has been for him. He said that this was actually it was the toughest one that he's had. He didn't get too deep into the why behind that, of why this has been a particularly tough one for him to deal with, but said that a lot of his journey back has been about spending time with his family, focusing on his family, taking joy from that, but feeling, watching these games at night and feeling like mad, like I want to be out there. I want to help these guys. I can do this. I can do that. And it was just such a funny juxtaposition with the Triple H Suck It shirt that he wore while he was doing this, which is, only Joel Embiid would do such a thing or think to do such a thing. But it's honestly, I'll share all of what he said at some point later in written form for all PHLY. But it's good to hear from him, but it does sound like he is going through it or was going through it and is very happy to be out there again.
What were you most surprised about, good or bad, from Joe?
Tonight on the floor, you mean?
Yeah.
So for as much as people said he looked winded or he looked gassed, I thought he moved relatively, ran the floor certainly really well. Got some easy duck-ins where he got either fouled or scored a layup, so that was a little bit surprising. Was surprised that he had enough left in the tank to dial it up on defense for the last, say, 5-6 minutes of that game, however long he was in at the end of the game, because honestly, for the first 3.5 quarters or so, I sat there and thought, there are guys challenging him at the rim that normally he'd be like, get the fuck out of my paint, basically, like guys like Aaron Wiggins, like not somebody who'd be challenging Joel at the summit. So seeing him able to reach that extra gear was good. Frankly, seeing him in as good a shape as I think that he's in is a really good sign. Nick Nurse actually sat up here and said, he had actually lost weight while he's been out and that he's done whatever he can to keep his conditioning base up, knowing that obviously game shape is a lot different than being in normal shape. So I thought that was a big positive. On the negative end of things, this wasn't a surprise necessarily, but didn't think he dealt with doubles that well. A lot of, sloppy turnovers, reacting to game speed and pressure and things like that. And he certainly dinged himself for that after the game. So I think that I'm willing to say he's been out of the game for 2 months, right? And this is his first game back. So we can give him a pass on that one and say, hopefully that comes in the coming days and weeks ahead.
4 points in the first half for Kelly Oubre and 21 in the fourth quarter overall for him. What did you see differently from the first half and even the third quarter, where he scored a couple of points there, but specifically in that fourth quarter and knocking down all 4 of his 3-point attempts?
Well, making his shots definitely helped. I think that was that was important. Like, he's definitely a guy that things can snowball quickly, right? He gets that one to go down, and all of a sudden, after having a tough 3-ish quarters, he then is confident enough to step into a pull-up 3 above the break, hits that, and the floodgates are open from there. I do think, though, the thing that I loved about that performance, and look, he was bad offensively for the first 2.5, 3 quarters of that game. I never thought that he lost sight of the other stuff. Like, I thought he had some great help rotations. There was a play I noticed in the third quarter. Kyle Lowry got beat by Lou Dort on a cut, and Kelly saw it right away, identified it, blew up the play, turned what probably would have been an easy layup into a junked up play for Oklahoma City. Obviously stripped Chet Holmgren late in the game, man defense. So I like the fact that he is, having a tough night. I think he's like 2 for 7 at one point, hadn't hit a 3. and he's still doing the little stuff. That's what we've been talking about on the show so much, is that the shot's going to come and go. He's not going to always be able to score or often score 21 points in a quarter, right? You can always do the rest of the stuff, the attention to detail things, the drop off passes, the extra passes, and frankly, just taking the right shots in an offense that now has Joel Embiid leading the way. So, I mean, the fourth quarter is a guy who has scoring talent showing that scoring talent. To me, the rest of the game is almost more important in that it shows like Kelly can still be on the floor and make a positive impact even when he looks completely lost on offense. And I think that's a big thing for him and for this team heading into the playoffs.
A big part of the last 6 games here is going to be about the guards, Lowry, Payne, Buddy learning to play off of Embiid, all three of whom have not played alongside of Joe. How do you think they approached it, and what are you looking forward to going forward?
So Buddy, I would say that was the pairing that I was maybe the most excited for, and that was kind of disappointing initially. I think a lot of it was you can see the ideas there from the two of them, execution, maybe not. Lowry and Embiid kind of just hand in glove walked right into it. You saw in the first half, a couple pick and rolls in a row. Lowry finding that pocket pass to Joel at the elbow, hit one of those jumpers, got fouled on the next one, and those two are going to figure it out. I actually talked to Kyle at his locker tonight, and he said part of the problem for the whole team tonight was just playing timid, and like you have this big presence that comes back, but nobody really knows how to approach it initially, and they all kind of got at that in different ways tonight. And so I think it was good for first impression, first game. Obviously, Thursday night is a huge game for a lot of reasons in the playoff race. So they're going to have to sharpen it up pretty quickly. But I think the hope would be you get those early jitters, the early rust out of the way in the first game. And that's why it was so big to get Joel out there tonight. He's got one game under his belt, not just to get the conditioning back, but to get those reps with these guys. And hopefully it's cleaner in the second game and moving forward.
Going to the Kelly, can I go back to the Kelly Oubre part real fast when you mentioned the things that he never lost sight of? Do you get a sense of that now? I know they've been on the road a lot, but just being at the games and speaking to him post game, do you get a sense that he's also recognizing that as well, that those things can also help him get back into the rhythm of the game offensively by the things that he's doing defensively and helping out passing wise?
Absolutely. I mean, that's it's just a way to stay on the floor, right? Like you look at somebody like a Buddy Hield, for example, when he doesn't shoot well, there's no real argument to keep him on the floor because he doesn't have the ability, or hasn't shown the ability anyway, to impact the game on defense. Like I think he has fits and starts where he tries, but by and large is a negative defender. And so if his shot's not there, he doesn't get to play. Kelly, on the other hand, when he has a game like this and he's 2 for 7, 3 from 3 at one point in the game, can keep himself on the floor long enough that, all right, then you see one go down because you've been out there and have the chances have come to you, and all of a sudden it can snowball into something more. So yeah, I mean, just from that perspective, for sure. But also, like, you're going to feel good if you blow up a play on defense. You're going to feel good if you steal the ball from somebody, go end to end and dunk the ball. I know that dunking is not going to get you into like any kind of shooting rhythm, but you hear the roar of the crowd and all that stuff, and you get into the game as a competitor. That stuff helps as well.
I've never missed a 3 after throwing down a dunk in the game.
It's a good call by you.
Also never made a 3 after throwing.
I was going to say, how many of those do you have in a game?
You didn't have to add that part. Just let it be where it is, man. Go ahead.
I was just going to ask about Tyrese. We saw him warming up a little bit before the game. He ultimately didn't go because of the hip. Do you have any gut or any intel on what might happen here on Thursday?
I do not. We did see him in the locker room after the game. He was in good spirits. He actually joked that since Joel's back, he is not talking to the media the rest of the season. His obligations are done. So congratulations to Tyrese on putting up with us for the last 2 months as the lead guy and now shirking those responsibilities for the rest of the year.
Did you get a chance to look at the new Embiid Skechers?
I did not see them up close. I did see, obviously, from courtside, and I saw some pictures that made their way to Instagram, Twitter, what have you. We were talking a bit, not Joel and I, but other media members, about how, like New Balance has become a big basketball brand now, right? Basketball and lifestyle brand. And 5 years ago, we all would have said like, yeah, those are loser shoes or whatever, like they're uncool. And so now Joel has I think an even bigger task in front of him to make Skechers cool. So I'd say the saving grace for him is that they've at least launched the athletic brand in other sports already. And so they're trying or starting to build some momentum. I know in soccer, they have Harry Kane, former Tottenham guy, used to play for Bayern Munich, and they've been spending the last year and a half on building that. So, and I know Skechers hired some old executives from some of the big brands that are the, let's say, quote unquote, cool athletic brands. So we'll see. Big men always struggle to sell sneakers, so I'm interested to see if
it's Julius Randle and Terrence Mann so far wearing this particular shoe. Yeah,
not exactly a murderer's row outside of our
Terrence
guy
Mann
Joel.
just wears it though, right? Terrence Mann doesn't have a shoe deal.
I don't know. He might have a deal with them.
He would have to be the worst player ever to get a shoe deal.
Well, I mean,
right?
look, we like I forget my man's name from Indiana, but I mean Darius Baisley. We talked about him with New Balance in the past, and what's my guy's name from Indiana? I'm drawing a blank, but New Balance. Of course, you have Tyrese and Kawhi Leonard and Zach LaVine and Jamal Murray. You have all-star players, but you also have some of those lower-level guys too. So that's what I'm saying. Terrence Mann, he might have a deal.
Okay,
he might.
Okay,
I
mean, look, when you're
he's in LA. You can have a deal. Well, that's enough shoe talk. I'm just curious if you saw them up close. Kyle, you can read Kyle's work, of course, for the recap at allphly.com. And back at it tomorrow at 2:30. Big game, certainly, on Thursday against the Miami Heat.
We all silly like the mayor.